How you guys doing? Time to fire up a day in the shop. You know we're starting off the day right when the sun's out again. We don't have that frog covering everything up. We got quite a mess going on. We got some brakes, nice and simple, and we got the rusty power steering repair we're still doing. The tie rod ends came off a little easier than I expected yesterday, but that's probably what we'll be doing first today. We'll have to see. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Jimmy. We're making it work. If you're new here and you don't know what's going on, we're going to spend a day in the shop fixing some cars, getting people back on the road. That's what we do. Stay tuned. Should be interesting. We'll have some fun and we might learn a thing or two, me and you. We're going to start the day with the rusty Jeep and using my snap-on crow's foot to try to get these lines loose. That's not so bad. These are super handy. It's a snap-on crow's foot kind of, but it's a line wrench style. I use these a lot. It's one of the few snap-on tools that I still have. Very expensive, of course, but they work great. Also using a Williams extension. Notice the smooth shank, no knurling, and a Capri ratchet. Let's try the other line. I try to use as short an extension as possible, something like this, because it tends to want to roll with leverage with too long of an extension. Once you get it to roll a little bit, regular opening wrench will work. It's so rusty that there's no way I'm going to turn it by hand. So I'll have to get both of them out the old-fashioned way. And last turn. The replacement line is not nearly so busy. They eliminated a section. The replacement one just goes from here up to there. I don't know if it's supposed to or not. That's what it does. Oh man, these were rubbing together because they weren't right, I guess. Let's put this up out of my way. Oh. That made a mess. One of the things I love about power steering work and transmission work, you can let them drip all night. It'll still be dripping in the morning. I'm going to disconnect that from there. You could do the quick connect here, but I'm replacing the rack anyway. I might as well just take the fitting out of the rack. See, this is all rusted too. That's why we're doing the rack, because the lines on the rack are leaking. Knows that that Jeep's peeking out of there. That's the one I looked at last week for, has reverse only, no drive. Sold her, gave him an estimate for a transmission, and she declined it because she couldn't get financing, didn't have any money. So another shop paid our diagnostic fee and they're taking the vehicle to fix it. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. That's a mechanic from a shop in town. Let's see what happens with that. I think he's surprised that it doesn't go. She probably didn't tell him the whole story or something. I don't know why they're anxious to fix it, but we gave him an estimate. Maybe they're just going to fix it cheaper or open the transmission up, repair it. I don't know. I hope they get a fix for her. I mean, I wouldn't wish hardship on anybody. She got declined for SNAP financing, which is very high interest, very poor credit financing, which is pretty, I hate that they do that, because if you don't have any money, getting a loan isn't going to help. It usually makes it worse. And especially if you repeat the process often, it just gets worse and worse and worse. Gravity check. One more of those. Uh-oh. I'm almost going to see if I can sneak this out or not. I don't think I'll be able to. We'll see. Alright. I'm finding out why they told you have to lower the subframe. And primary reason being you have to lower the subframe. So now I got to get the motor mounts unbolted from the subframe. And I'm trying not to disturb the exhaust. It tells you to remove the heat shields at the top and take the nuts off the studs. The mounts go through the aluminum bracket on the motor. But it looks to me like if I take the two bolts out of the bottom, it's going to go up and down easier. I don't have to fight getting the studs back in the aluminum brackets, if that makes sense. So I might need to get my Torx adapter box ends that you can, like 15 millimeter, you can use a long extension to ratchet and get it from underneath with those little Torx adapters. The front bolts are pretty easy, they're right there. The back bolts, not so easy, but don't worry, we'll make it work. I know this Milwaukee has a big giant head on it, but we're still gonna give it a try anyway. Don't start bragging yet, that was the easiest of the 4. Alright, I'm almost in a bragging mood now. Well, not a lot of ways to get to the rear one other than my Torx extension thing. If I take the drive shaft out, I might be able to. Let's remove the drive shaft. I think it's an 8mm Allen. Watch your head. Alright. There's no place to put a pry bar or a screwdriver or anything to hold the drive shafts from turning under the bolts. They've got a machine so close to the housings. So I'm going to grab the rear bolts with my Knipex drive shaft holding tool so I can hold this tight enough to turn these bolts loose. And they're not loose either, they're tight. So I got a wobbly extension. 8mm. I don't want to hit it with an impact.
Hey, also license plate is registered.
These bolts don't seem like they're happy. So I'm gonna spray them down, let them sit a little while, and we'll come back to it, I guess. So this stuff doesn't work miracles, but it does help. All right, 6 more of those. Well, 1, 2, 3, 5 more of those will be good. All right, I'm going back to my original plan. That drive shaft, every one of them bolts is fighting me, and there's 12 of them to get the drive shaft out of my way. So I'm just going to have to turn this out with my little Cornwell, show you guys. Little Cornwell torque wrench adapters is what they're made for, but they're great for stuff like this. So I can get the bolt from underneath that's designed to be got from up top. They want you to take the exhaust out of the way and all that cool stuff. Like most cars nowadays, it's designed to be thrown away when stuff like this goes wrong with it. But people don't want to throw them away because it's 50 grand to replace it. So put this on and turn it 1/8 of a turn at a time. So we'll be here a little while. But I can get my hand in there once I get it. If I ever get it to where it's hand tight, I can turn it out the rest of the way by hand. I got to do that on both sides. After turning a few turns, it feels like my little stubby gear wrench, ratchet wrench, will be able to turn it. I'll have enough leverage as long as it fits on the head of the bolt. Oh man, that's gonna save me some time. I knew someday these would come in extra super duper handy. I could have just left it at extra handy, or just super duper handy. I didn't need to embellish all those accolades. Almost out. One more of these and we're on the easy street, or something that resembles it. This is basically the same exact setup. Yeah. A few more of those. And I think the gear wrench will fit on this side too. This side of the heat shield's closer, but it's just tin. I think I could push the heat shield out of my way a little bit. Once this last bolt's out, then I got to see if I can get the cradle bolts out. I'll just put a stand under the motor and try to drop the front of the cradle. We'll see what happens, because it looks like that shaft on the rack hits the oil pan and the motor. So if I separate the motor, the cradle, and the differential from each other, it should fit out, right? Ta-da! Now I can't go up too high. That's why they talk about taking the intake off and all that kind of crazy stuff. If you go up high, then it hits the firewall and the windshield cowl and all that. But I'm lowering the cradle. I'm not looking to raise it too high. I just raised it a little bit so that it'll take less dropping of the cradle. They want you to take the differential off the cradle and all kinds of other crazy stuff, and I don't know. I might have to do that too. We're gonna find out the hard way. First we'll try to make it work, and then we'll adjust our plan, and we'll still make it work. It just depends on how many different audibles we have to call. We'll see. These look like 21, and I got to take the plates loose in the back. And I'm hoping that 2 or 3 inches will give me some room. We'll see. I like to cover these in case water and mud and stuff comes shooting out at you. Oh, that went better than I planned. I did not expect them to come out that easily. I didn't even loosen the back yet. And I've got me about 4 or 5 inches. That's what she said. This is a family show, damn it. Stop it. Come on now. Let's see what you got. Now, if I can get that end to go over about 4 more inches, that's why they want you to take the differential out too. I might have to unbolt the 2 differential mounts I can see and push that out of my way next. I'm gonna end up taking the cradle out. We'll see. Some of these bolts are really surprising me how easy they come out. Some of them. And other ones, yeah, not really surprising me at all. It's about to go down, I think. I loosened the differential and dropped it about 1 inch. Didn't really make a big difference to me, but just enough that I could pop it past this little gap. Now I think if I roll this over, get over here. Ta-da! Quality master steering or something. Master something. I don't know. But I know it's important. The system should be flushed. Don't worry, it's been leaking. It's been flushed like crazy. This came from a northern vehicle too. So, this has a valve in it. I'm not sure if the other one has a valve. I hope we got more warnings. Remanufacture. I hope this is at least something quality, like a Cardone part or something. No, that was sarcasm. The threads were in good condition when we rebuilt it. I hope you didn't screw them up, is what that said. That way they can send you one with stripped threads and it'll be your fault. See? You gotta think ahead. That's how it works. So the first thing I'm gonna do is look at these threads before I even bother. Save these for the other one. Threads look okay. I don't know what that is. Paint? Hope it's not threads. Alright. Let me go make sure it looks just like the original. That's about centered. My little lock bolt notch is facing about the same place, pretty close. So we should be good. Looks the same. Got the valves in both lines like the other one had. I got to transfer over the gigantic nuts. But what I'll do is, it might make it a little easier putting them back in without them on there. I'll just thread them on after. I'll spin them off with the impact Rooney. And we'll go from there. I think we're in good shape with that one. Having that rust and scale fall on yourself while you're working it's like torture a little bit. So figure just blow it out of my way and it'll happen less. It's still gonna happen, that's all right. I can handle a little bit of it. I think I'm ready to go back in. I'm stalling a little bit, that's all. Well, I'm a little bit sad because it looks like the power steering pressure hose they got is the wrong one. Which I don't know how that's possible, because it's almost made for like a right-hand drive. Kind of strange, because it's made for the rack fitting to be on this side. So, any luck?
I think so.
Oh yeah.
The closest thing I can find.
I think it's right, because the fitting on the other side, so
Yeah.
should be it.
I've ordered it. It's maybe 2 hours away.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Anyway, I don't know how the other one was wrong, but it looks like it's right-hand drive or something like that. But this rack is not in until this clears here. All right. I want this over this too. Don't be like that. It's very important that this is in front of the rack. Don't do it. It'll drip on me. We're getting along so well. All right. Whew. Good workout. Move you guys over here for the pièce de résistance. Look at that, man. Look at that. Am I crazy or what?
Yes, sir. Following up this week.
Alright, I'm going to throw the bolts in there loosely. Try to get everything back in place so I don't have to have these pole jacks under here. She said the hose about a couple hours away, which is nice because the first hose she found was 2 days away, which is Monday. Alright, let's dig up some bolts, get this thing held in a little bit. Alright, now, maybe over here. I could actually tighten these now, but I'm not gonna, just in case, until it's back up where it belongs. One more of those. Gravity check! That bolt's gigantic too, you gotta be careful. I almost dented the earth. Well, the concrete at least. Luckily I'm not working in the dirt yet. Although I have. Not today. Alright. I think now I'll use this pole jack to get the bolts back in my diff. And then I'll use the pole jack to raise the cradle up. These are the same thread, yep. Same bolt. That back one is not going to be pole jackable. So we'll do it with the pry bar. This one's not so heavy. I can use my thumb, push it in place. Time for power tools. And he's right. The Canadian dirt and rust, it does taste like bacon. Alright, don't mess with me, man. Don't mess with me. That's what I'm saying. Simple little threat. And it cooperates. You gotta get mean sometimes. I don't like doing it, but I will when I have to. Gravity checks left and right. My hands are a little slippery, so I can't help it. Differential is tight. Let's take this back. You're going back where you belong. And no, not Back to the Future. where we don't need roads back up in this vehicle. That's what I meant. See, the motor mounts are getting angry. Sometimes you got to convince them to come to your party. There you go. The good thing about not loosening the back cradle bolts is the cradle should still be perfectly aligned, even though I'm going to have to do an alignment on this thing. And I don't know how I'll adjust anything other than toe. Sometimes, most of the time on these Chryslers and Jeeps, you got to shift the cradle around to adjust camber left to right. And it has to be off the correct amount on either side for that to work. Anyway, it'll at least be back where it was. Hopefully I'll only have to snip the toe. We'll see. Look at that. Got the right hose. Another bonus of having the pliers on here is, let me turn this light. It helps you during reassembly. Alright. Don't forget to pop them off though, because the steering will be unbearable. Fought me a little bit coming off, but we handled it. Now I had to pry those mounts. They were like this. They didn't want to come into the brackets on the subframe, so I had to use my pry bar and they just kind of popped. And now you're looking for those little ears to drop into the notches. Sounds easy, and it should work too, and hopefully line up your bolt holes and all that stuff. Basically just showing who's boss, that's all. They're like little kids giving you trouble at the mall. Nothing the pry bar doesn't fix. Torque spec is 6 Ooga Doogas. That's a level 14 on the sneaky scale. I really didn't think that bolt was going to stay on the torque socket. I thought it was going to fall off. But, you know, when things are going well, they're going well. That's all you just got to be grateful and just keep going. What now? Oh, let's get those, I think I'll get the motor mount bolts started before I go any further. And then the next thing I'll be working my way out with the hoses, connections, and then the pump and stuff last. I'm going to start the front bolts, but not tighten them. I'm going to get the back bolts tight first, because they're a little harder to get to. So I find if I tighten the front ones first, it'll cause more of a bind on the back. It could turn the bracket and that kind of thing. Pretty long bolt, huh? It's almost done. We're getting there. Don't give up yet. It's actually getting easier as I get it in. Now I gotta get this one, which same way, sneak it up here. One motor mount bolt left. Be an easy one. Oh, I think so. Told you it was going to be an easy one. Alright, now settle down a little bit, will you? Now this is loaded the wrong direction from what you would think, so my job is to unload it in the right direction. I find using a pry bar or a facsimile thereof is about the best way to do it. That screwdriver won't even work. Let's try a hose tool. I want to put the, I don't remember whether the bolt faced forward or backward, but because this is a northern vehicle, I'm going to face it backward. The best. Whew, good workout. Isn't always so easy, you know? This is why when you read instructions on things like this, it says, remove bolt. You're like, oh, that's all I gotta do? Yep, that's all you have to do. And then you gotta put it back in. So, when I get it on the alignment rack, and it's at ride height, I'll loosen and retighten that bolt so it doesn't stress that bushing. There's a threaded insert, and there's a threaded insert in here. So this should be able to fit underneath and go into that. Okay. Trying to make sure I'm not putting them in the wrong order. bearings, pre-lubricated with a little power steering fluid. This takes electro-hydraulic power steering fluid too, by the way, special fluid. In the early stages of this electric power steering, I guess they weren't too sure how they wanted to attack it. They made it have everything. Electric, hydraulic, all the most complicated, problem-prone things. Although this one's just rusted. Hello, honey. Stop it. I think I'll go to the crow's foot, snug that down a little bit. I always try to do the one hose first, the higher one that's harder to get to, or whatever the case may be. I'm gonna have to go to my other hose and transfer over the brackets from that, because the new pressure hose didn't come with any brackets on. Snug, you don't have to crank them, but you gotta make them snug. I'm not sure if the brackets are even gonna be reusable, but we'll try. Man, it's rusty. But it needs something on there to hold the hoses in place. I don't know why they can't come with the brackets, but uh-oh. It was split on the other side, silly. I tugged on it and it wouldn't go. But, you know, once you cut it, then it lets you know where the other cut was. Nature of the beast. Got it about 2 turns by hand. That's all I could do. Because I think the hose, the brackets and stuff kind of push on things. And they bind it up. But 2 full turns by hand is good. Oh, I'm sad. My wife just came from the accountant and told me how much I gotta pay in taxes for all the money I made on YouTube, which is none. Oh well, what are you gonna do, right? Just keep having fun and keep rowing and let the dollars fall where they may. I gotta get a bolt for this. I think there's should be a threaded insert in the chassis or subframe somewhere over here. This pump motor bracket, a little bit of fun. Probably should have put it on before the hoses, but I didn't realize that bolt would hit the hose. I didn't show you guys the struggle, but trust me, the struggle's real. These bolts are so easy, I can use my 3/8 impact. I was almost using my ratchet. I'm like, why? The way I took this out, I had this bracket on the pump, and the new pump doesn't come with it. So I'm gonna try. These 3 bolts should be fairly easy to do, right? Find that clamp. I don't know where it went. Might have to get a worm clamp. Maybe it was rusty and I threw it away. I don't remember. 2 more bolts in here, and I'm gonna see where that new pump's at. The sway bar's in a bind. Ugh. So you gotta unbind it. I'm guessing when it goes to ride height that it would pull those brackets flat, but I'm gonna put the bolts on now. I'm not gonna wait and see. I think it's an 18. Yep. 18 it is. Come on down, you're on the sockets right. Alright, now I'm really gonna go find a pump, like I said before, but I mean it. Get the hose started. Metal, the other ones are rubber. Pop these rubber lines on. I think I'm gonna put them on from the top. It looks like I can reach them, but we'll see. Alright, man. There you go. Play nice. That's what I'm saying. Oh, that was easy. I thought the top one was going to be tricky. There's several holes in the top one that could mess with you, so. Oh, the sway bar's in my way. Okay. I thought it was going to be just barely out of the way. I didn't even think of that. I just assumed the sway bar wouldn't block them. I don't know why. Man, that's pretty. I don't know why we changed that. I didn't see anything wrong with it. It might require programming too, or at least some kind of initialization or something. And we'll find out once we let this down, put some fluid in it. We'll pop the key on and see what kind of codes are in there, and it'll probably have a programming error code if it has to be programmed. And then before starting the engine, I'll run through and look at initialization procedures and see if it says something about it. Have it your way. I'll use the other pliers, that's fine. I did get that worm clamp from below. Just seemed to make sense in my head to do it from the bottom. get some fluid in this thing and grab the scanner. All right, a little bit of lunch, little trip on the Mack truck. He is not, oh look, the Mack and the Matco man, they're gonna fight. Oh, they're gonna fight. What are we gonna do now? Uh-oh. He brought me fluid. I intentionally overfilled it a little bit. Let's get the scanner on this thing and see what we gotta do. This is push button start, so you gotta push it twice to get an ignition mode. Then you can get the Phoenix Light 2 to have a chat with it. I might have to use my stand. It's not getting along with the shifter. That's what it's there for, though. We'll give this thing a minute. Of course, I'm going to smart scan it in case other modules are angry about the new steering pump. WCM's angry about it. Radio, I don't know what that code is. EPS, electronic power steering, I think that means. Uh-oh. Well, the code's cleared out of the steering module pretty easy, but now I'm realizing the air suspension module's angry because I don't have the front tires on there. I'm going to lift it up, put the front tires on, and then we'll come back and see what we got to do with this. Got good CAN voltage, steering wheel angle sensors working, motor speed 3180, measured module temperature, module voltage, motor phase current. I got no power steering, so something's wrong. Read fault code, DTC. No DTCs. Interesting. I got, it looks like it thinks it's doing something. Saying 3180 RPM from the motor. There's no teach-in function or anything like that. We have a problem, Houston. I go into ABS, it gives me a special function. Check VIN, ABS bleed, ABS initialization. If I go into the power steering, the closest thing it gives me is module information. And the VIN now ends the same. That's interesting. No codes. Let's start it up and see if we have power steering now. I don't know when it reset, but now the VIN matches, and I still have no power steering. Okay. Oh my goodness. Well, I got power steering. I don't know how, but I kept going back and forth, bleeding. I put my vacuum pump on it. Getting a little frustrated, so I didn't film it, but put my vacuum pump on it with my little hand tool. I have a little adapter cone. I got another bottle of fluid in there, so I took 2.5 of these, and I finally have power steering. So apparently this does not self-bleed. Just because it has an electric pump doesn't mean it can circulate the fluid on its own. I don't know how that's even possible, but never assume that it should be able to bleed itself because it's electric. I thought it'd be even easier, but no, apparently it's harder. So I'm gonna keep purging air and getting fluid so it's right at the max line, and then we're going to do an alignment on this thing, which is hopefully just setting the toe, because it's been a day and a couple hours on it so far. So let's looks like the fluid went down another 1/4 of an inch. I'm just glad to have power steering fluid after all the horror stories I'm reading about. I finally took that aftermarket junk off of there and got parts from the dealer, so I was wondering if that would be my problem, but all right. Whew. That's a heck of a burden lifted. I really didn't want to put another rack in there. Let's do an alignment. All right, I got to put the splash shield on here, but I'm going to check it for leaks first, which it looks really good, nice and dry. I got some blind nuts to replace the ones that rusted and broke. I'm going to go ahead and put that splash shield up here. Ready to go. No big deal. The radiator support is threaded, so there's no blind nuts, what's left of the threads anyway. But that's a blind nut there, and that's a blind nut there. It's called that because you can't get to the nut on the back, so you have to have a way to hold one in place. It's either got to be welded in place, or you got to use something like that. Since it's only plastic, that works great. Got a little coolant leak. I might have to snug that up or see where that's coming from. Didn't ask about that. Well, you can see it up there. A lot of rules for Jeep, Chrysler, Mercedes. Like I had it in drive and neutral. I was trying to shut the engine off in neutral. It wouldn't let me shut the engine off, so I put it in park. It won't also let you open the door. It put it in park if you open the door. I guess it's safer. I don't know. I know it makes somebody happy, and that's what really matters the most. I just want people to be happy, you know? Having a bad day, It's gonna be okay, man. Things are gonna get better. It's gonna turn around. Your power steering will suddenly start to work. Wow, every single measurement's red. You know why? I'm gonna go like this. I wonder if I go like this down. See if it'll lower the car down, see if the specs will get a little greener. Because that's terrible right there. Every measurement's red. Just when I thought I had everything going well. Alright, the rear toe has got cams, so we can do that. The camber, I think, might be due to this air suspension being too high. Oh, there is an adjustment for that too. Okay. Oh, I wonder how rusty it's going to be. This should be fun. He said he only really needs me to set the toe in the front. I said, well, I had the cradle out. He said, well, why would that turn the back red? I'm like, well, so we may just be setting the toe front and rear on this. So I'm going to see how rusty everything is and what will move and what won't. And we'll decide from there. Because I'd rather have everything nice and green. Might not be possible. Let's start with the rear toe and see where we can get that. Because it's visibly look down the car, you can see it's towed out in the back. So it's probably never had an alignment. Well, let me show you guys. I thought there was no lock nut. It felt like there was nothing there. But it's a little 14mm lock nut on this thing. Hopefully they'll turn. We're gonna find out. He told me don't worry about it. I said, you know what? I'm worried about it. So I gotta at least try. And if it's not cooperating, that's different. I'm gonna go this way. Oh, jeez. This middle finger dislocates if you pull too hard. That's fun. Oh, you know what? I can get my warranty checker. Let's see if I can check the warranty on my mountain wrenches. I think it's KD tool or something, or AD tool now. Anyway, I'm gonna get a pipe or something. Let it slip. Tighten that lock nut, dang it. Whatever you do, it's green. Keep it green. I cannot believe it moved. These rusty cars are easier than you guys said. Just kidding. I don't want any more of them. Goodness gracious. Oh, Canada. Alright, we're in. We got 2 green rear toe adjustments, which I feel pretty satisfied about that right there, because it went from being 1.5 degrees towed out to 0.3 degrees towed in. So when they drive home to Canada, this thing is going to be like a brand new car, basically. You guys know what I'm talking about. This here is going to be one brand new car. There'll be a couple of red specks. We won't talk about those. Now I know these are going to move because I got history with these ones. I mean, me and these tie red ends, we spent the entire day together and a couple hours yesterday. We got relationship. Hopefully not an abusive one, but so far it's been great. You guys know too, this clamp, if this boot continues to roll, you got to loosen this clamp so you don't hurt the boot. But most of the time it'll just let it slip, like you can watch it. It'll turn and slip and it's going back to settling. So it's not going to hurt anything to keep turning it, but you do have to keep an eye out for that. Some cars, it's tight and it doesn't let it turn. It's just meant to keep dust out and you don't need to tear it. Sometimes I'll get cars in here and that boot is wrapped into, it looks like a croissant or something. Not that it's delicious looking, just that it's twisted a lot, you know what I mean? All right, green, I'll take it. Uh-oh. That towed it out, just bumping the lock nut. So I'll go a little extra. When I turn the lock nut, It apparently is going to turn it more negative because it turns the tie rod end. Makes sense. One more wheel. And we're going to go negative, so we want to make the tie rod end longer so the front of the wheel points out more. If this tie rod end was behind the tire, we'd make it shorter to bring the rear of the tire in, which would tow the front of the tire out, right? Some of you guys might know this stuff, and some of you guys might be new. So I have to make sure the people that are new might know. You guys feel free to talk about it in the comments, and if anyone has any questions and I don't get to them, there's a lot of good mechanics that watch the channel too, and they can help you in the comments as well. I don't mind that at all. Alright, I'm loving it. This camber's not that bad. It's a tiny bit out of spec. This is also a tiny bit out of spec, but it's the only measurement that really concerns me because the variation from left to right's a little high, but it's in the back, so I'm gonna call this a win. Pays me an hour labor. That's about what I have in it. So I'm gonna lock down my jam nuts, take this thing for a drive, and make sure the wheel's straight and the power steering is nice and quiet. This here is a 2013 Dodge Durango. Might look kind of familiar. Does it look familiar to you guys? Let me get a light so you can see what's going on. Does that look familiar? Uh-oh. Hope they know about the radiator leak. We got issues with this one. Let's go have a seat in the car and give a love rating and show you guys what I'm thinking and tell you what's going on. 2013 Dodge Durango with some really ugly red accents. I don't know why people do that, but you know what, not my boat, not my oars. Whatever. 115,948 miles. I covered the family so I don't get accused of being a pedophile by a weirdo. Customer wants a tune-up, an oil change, and I guess they checked it and said it needed brakes, and I just spotted the coolant leak. And when I started, it sounded like a crank slow, and the check engine light's on. And the engine's ticking and making a bunch of noise, so we'll see what happens. We're gonna start on it today and finish it tomorrow, hopefully. As far as the love rating, I want to give it a 5 or even maybe a 6, but I don't know, the red, I'm saying 5. If it wasn't for the silly red stuff, I'd say 6. But I take it personally when you paint stuff red. That's not really true at all. But it's funny. Let's get under the hood and see how much of a catastrophe we got. I can hear the engine go kick, 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 and the customer wants to tune up with the check engine light on. I don't know what's going on. Let's figure it out though. Definitely looks like it's split by that upper hose. Could be the upper hose itself though. Customer says, you guys put that radiator in. So I don't know. Something's not right. Looks to me like the intake's been off too. Someone's got a different bolt. Huh? I'm not sure what's going on. It's almost like a black cat went by and they changed something in the matrix. Because, oh, you see this car's been repainted. Not very well either. Sanding marks and scratches. Customer says, you guys put a radiator in it. So we looked into customer history and they found out that we did a thermostat. It started to sound familiar to me. I said, I think I tuned it up too. It looks like the manifold's been off. So they looked it up. I tuned it up 15,000 miles ago and put a thermostat in it. So now it needs a radiator and front brakes. So we're switching everything around, and I let them know about the check engine light and the weak battery because it cranks a little slow. Let's see what happens. Closing in on the end of the day. Looks like he's got 3 different kinds of lug nuts. Yeah, we'll sort it out. That's the biggest problem we have. We're good to go. Got some sweet brakes on this thing too. Look at the size of them calipers, huh? Uh-oh. Just a cover. Uh-oh. I wonder why they asked for front brakes. I mean, this side has the superior caliper on it, but it also has pretty good brake pads. Ooh, this CV boot's even worse. All right, I'm starting to get aggravated now. Come on, man. Tighten up and fly right over here. What the heck is going on, man? All right, this will be the third trip up front on this car. Haven't started on it yet. I just took the wheels off. Matter of fact, at the end of the day, they're closing up. So, thanks for watching today's video. We'll continue on this fiasco tomorrow. Hope you guys got something from it. I worked on the Jeep all day. This is the first ticket I wrote down for today. Think I'm kidding about them closing up? They mean it. So talk that like button for me. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Hope I see you in the next video, because they're awesome.